I just did what I had to do for work, and it was a job for me. Whether it was shooting them, some of them was stabbing them, some of them was batting them. At this point, I look back and I wish I never did it. I'm John Alite, ex-Gambino enforcer, Hitman. I'm an advocate now for children, prison reform, second chance program, and also a co-author of several books, and this is my story. I grew up in a normal household, I guess, Albanian typical household. I was raised as a ball player and a fighter since I'm a little kid. My dad believed in the boxing world, fighting. His concern was more with education in the streets and being able to survive. Coming from a communist regime in Albania and coming from the Lower East Side where he did. They taught us to be tough guys, I guess. In New York, there's 5 major families. Gambino family is one of the stronger families out of the 5. So I started getting involved with the Gambino family. One of them was my baseball coach as a young kid, was Anthony and Albert Ruggiano. Their father was nicknamed Fat Andy Ruggiano, who was a made member of the Gambino family and Murder Inc. He was a guy that raised me, and also through Lucky Luciano, who was a famous gangster's first cousin, Charlie Luciano, which we called Blackie. He was a partner with my uncle in a gambling den out in the South Bronx. I was raised by these guys as early as 5 years old. I was in gambling dens and I was at different card games, crap games, and I was exposed to other gangsters through them. And later on in life, as a teenager, I started running tickets and numbers and bookmaking slips from a local delicatessen that I worked at, and the back room was used as payphones for illegal gambling and for horse betting. So I would run slips across the street to Luchese guys, Louis and George Getty. I dated the daughter of. I guess as the years went on, I started becoming an enforcer without knowing I was becoming one. I started going to the gym regularly as a fighter, a boxer, with a lot of guys from the street in the middle of collecting debts for gambling and sports and horse rooms. They would ask me eventually if I had trouble collecting to hurt them. And it became a regular business for me. As far as hurting guys, I got used to it. I got forceful when my bosses, whoever they may be at that time, would tell me what to do. At that time, it was a lot of guys from the Luchese family that I was actually running around doing those things for. Later on, it became the Gambino family as I got older. As the years went on, I'm working in selling drugs in Rikers Island, which is one of the bigger county prisons that everybody from our neighborhoods in Brooklyn and Queens end up going to if you get locked up. It's 25,000 inmates. And I started working for Angelo Ruggiero, known as a real tough guy. He asked me to start moving heroin within the prison system, which I started doing. From that, I started doing some shootings, baseball bat beatings. I've been accused of shooting close to 60 people. I believe they accused me of shooting. I think that number is exaggerated. And it's hard to say how many of those people I killed, but I would say well over a dozen of those people have died. By accident, I baseball batted one of my friends too. I got accustomed to being violent, unfortunately, for some friends. Some of it was business and some of it just became a natural thing to me to hurt and kill. Unfortunately, that was part of the life of being a gangster. As I grew in the mob world, like any job, you want to be the best at what you're doing. You know, the mentality of us, even though it's a bad life and a crazy life, is to be respected and to make a lot of money. So as a kid, I was actually slow walking more than my friends were. My friends were a lot more dangerous than me. Coming from Brooklyn, Queens, Jamaica Avenue, and a lot of my friends were already shooting, killing, stabbing. And as the years went on, I started to bypass them. I started to get more vicious, but also more intelligent. I was raised by guys like Fat Andy Ruggiano, who taught me to be quiet, but also taught me to be vicious. You know, what you don't realize while you're in the street, there's all kinds of tolls that you're gonna pay, emotional and physical. At about 19, I get stabbed up for the first time. I get stabbed up 2 different occasions. I got about 120 stitches in my chest at one time. I believe I got about 80 something in my head. I was stabbed in the head. You start accepting the violence and you start accepting that you're playing roulette with your life with not much regard of it. You think you're almost invincible. So I think some of the tolls is that. And then as you're doing the killing and the beatings and the hurting of other individuals, I think you just take it in stride, but somewhere down the line, you're going to pay the price mentally with it. It's going to take effect. There's murders and there's shootings I did, and prosecutors during these cases talked about how I just nonchalantly went to go eat afterwards, or I went to the beach. I didn't really understand what did they mean by it. That's how detached you become, not realizing they're trying to show how callous you become in the life. And I think that's my biggest reason why I'm so candid about it, because I'm trying to teach kids There's so much suffering that goes on, not just on the victims, my victims, other victims, the families, my family, and my personal fight with myself to control my rage. There's a mental toll on you that I work on every day, almost like an alcoholic would. As you're getting more intelligent in life and you start growing up and maturing, as you're getting older and you're going through some of the violence you did, you're starting to recognize there really isn't that loyalty that you believe there is as a naive kid. You start watching the treachery, the double dealing, people that are killing their best friends, killing family members with no regard. And you start understanding that this is not about loyalty, this is about money only. And what I believed in as a kid started changing. And the guys that I grew up with that I really respected, they're gone and moved far away from this life, either lost their lives, were murdered, or in prison for life. And I started to step back and really take a look at what I'm involved in. And I started seeing the treachery when I went on the run and I got caught. And I was in Brazil. And while I was on the run and in Brazil penitentiaries, I watched two major crime families, the Bonanno family, about 14 made guys, captain and bosses, the whole hierarchy started cooperating. And also my own family, the Gambino family, started cooperating. And these guys aren't the only ones cooperating. There's guys that are all around the country, bosses from every family, every state that have been cooperating. And it kind of opened up my eyes. How did I leave my kids like this? Why would I sit in these penitentiaries in Brazil for years at a time, fighting for my life in those concentration camps when I spent 2.5 years in those penitentiaries, and just keep getting news after news of these captains and all these family and bosses of all these families cooperate. And I finally, when I came back to the United States, I decided to throw the towel in and change my life. Ever since then, I never turned back. I try to be as honest as possible to help the kids not follow the path that I actually grew up and believed in and thought I would die following. I left 4 children behind like a jackass, believing in the loyalty of that life. And I have the Johnny and Gene Show. It's a podcast. And what I'm trying to do is reach kids that have been in trouble or parents that don't know what to do when kids are in trouble. I'm trying to reach those kids before they get in trouble. And for those kids that have been first-time offenders where they have a second chance program. It's not a life that's conducive to having a good life. And I tried to convey this to the kids by saying to them, listen, I promise you, I'm the real guy. And I survived it. And I think there's a reason and a purpose why I survived it. So I could save some kids' lives and the nonsense belief that this life is built on loyalty. It's the furthest thing from the truth. It's about money only, and it's self-preservation. And that's really the truth about the American Mafia.